Welcome. This is another LZ show, another episode. Thanks for tuning in off the jump. I want to say all praises to my Zod, the creator, your Lord 13. Um, Other than that, there's a lot of things to talk about, right? Because a lot of things been happening worldwide in the news, and information is very accessible now, and people are in tune to what's going on, especially like of the talk about war and stuff like that with the, you know, um, Iran and all that stuff. And we're going to talk about that, because this is the sentiment that has got the people stuck in a loop for mad decades, where they was in this idea where we just had to accept what Iran was going for as far as, having nuclear capabilities. And we can't have that, right? Because they just want to kill people. So, now that we got a chance to end that and decimate it completely, I think, right, because I got some ideas. I think that now that we took out their air defense system and their boats and their naval and their, all that, because they don't seem to understand that Trump is there because there's a king in the U.S. and it's not him. We put them as the people. The sentiment that is promoted comes from a royal kingship that exists in the U.S. countries, like now, yours truly. And he's trying to replicate that sentiment, and it benefits the U.S. Where we are the dominant force and all of that. So, but what I'm saying is that, now that we took out all their representatives and stuff like that, I think they should have a good interpreter to put themselves on display and talk about matters. Like right now, they're in a phase where they're just going to hate the U.S., because we taking them out and shit like that. We're disrupting them, right? With the way their ideology is based on, where they just want to be killers and murderers, and it's a thing where you have to change the theology of that civilization, because even if you take out their leaders, the customs and the cultural traditions are, set to be just evil. And the only way to change that is changing your theology, the way they think, and there should be a representative on their part who is a good interpreter and put themselves on display like our president does, in front of all these world leaders, and other countries and stuff like that, promoting the same doctrine and stuff, and that's what we should look out for, because if we wait and waste our time on hearing what they feel about us, because like I said, they're gonna hate us, but we're in a state where you gotta surrender, because we're number one, and until you learn how to speak, and communicate, then we're just gonna control this shit, until you have a good regimen that makes sense with the values of the American people, that want to promote life and not death. Like maybe have a democratic system where women have more rights, over there. Because from what I hear, they stick to cultures where, women got to cover up and they can't hold hands. They can't do a lot of things. They're not really people who could be happy, and so they got to come up with a way where they try to implement our culture into their lifestyles. Like maybe they should try to act a little more hip hop or some shit, and so and maybe show some swag. But right now, their system is you can't really do a lot of things. So this would have to change. This would be the basic fundamental thing where their theology has to change in their culture. And when that is being seen, is because they'll have a democratic system within the structure of their whole, reality, where the leader will be able to, sound like a good interpreter, and that would make a lot more logic and rationale to the U.S. Mentality of okay, you could run your own country type of shit. We'll just be here watching and shit, but you could have your own system and you could run your own people, and do what you want to do, but you can't act like we don't exist, and you gotta pay homage, basically, because our culture is number one. The way that I see my rulership is the Christ, the living, the representative, the shit that they got wrong, and even when they changed it, and none of it was set to help or aggrandize. It was set to make worse the traditions they've learned from hand, passed down through lineage and stuff like that. And so, yeah, man, it's gonna be. I don't know if they got the guts or the balls or the courage to be able to communicate and moderate and modernize their language where it gets to the sophistication and of the strategic patterns that our president has left, where if you want to get in the table and talk about something, you gotta first show up. And that's what I'm saying. It's gonna be a process, because until it happens, I'm looking at to end that shit. Like they con the world with the religion, with everything. If you and it only caused death. And so there's a lot of lives at stake. And nobody benefits from that. And you got to think like a world leader, where everybody has a system of freedom where they could express themselves to the right, format, But when you got a place, a tradition, a culture who believes that death is cool and killing people is awesome, this is their ideology, that they must be there to instill fear upon the world just because evil exists, and this doctrine, and by the way, they think that's actually serving the whole structure and Zog, if anything. But there's levels that they never graduated. There could be bad things, but it doesn't have to equate to evil, and they just want to get to the point where it's just evil, Like there could be a lot of bad things, in the dark side or in the shadows, but not all of them, are evil. They're just necessary. But what they do is not necessary and it's evil, So we gotta eliminate that shit by equating to their level for a certain degree, until we eliminate that shit like a remnant, rub that shit out, and then boom, we instill a new system where I think that's where they have to put themselves on display, have courage to speak, have a good interpreter who makes sense and that benefits the world, not just the local regions and stuff like that. Maybe they should stop being racist, and communicate with the world. And then, you know, I think it's possible. Like I said, our president laid out a thing for 5 weeks, but so far I think we could do it sooner than that. Hopefully, you know, if they speed up, you know, because supposedly they're sophisticated, right? They're like elite intelligence and stuff like that. But so far I saw is them begging and indirectly type of shit, you know. But anyway, that's my news for today, because I know that's out there in the world. You know, this is historic times where basically we're at war. You know, I don't remember I think it was Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, one of them. You know, it was the last one, but they didn't know how to be strategic and intelligent about it. They would send troops and shit when they could have used, you know, a lot of missiles and drones and stuff. They weren't from this time, you know. So they were doing it completely different. This time we don't even gotta send troops. We could preempt. We got a lot of technology at our disposals. We got nuclear capability. The Trump just said that we're gonna make this shit like DR, where you could power your own house and shit. You get, you know, certain licenses or whatever. You could power plant your own fucking space and shit. So that means you don't have to pay electricity, no more bills. You know what I mean? I thought that shit was crazy. I think it's gonna change the world, you know, because now everybody's gonna be able to produce their own energy. With more energy, we have more possibilities and capabilities, and that's endless. You understand? So I just had to share that news because I see we're doing great things, and speaking on another level, frankly and plainly, you know, I keep doing big things, and I never stop. Well, no matter what. Even if you wish evil upon me, I'm going to do it in a dope way. You know what I mean? I'm going to look dope. I'm going to just, even though those dope, you know, those places are probably going to be hard times and shit or whatever. No matter what, I'm going to still look dope doing it, you know? So that's a given, you know. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, you know. Other than that, you know, everything is going according to plan, and much success, much more power is growing. So I see that shit happening, more confidence, more you know, I don't have to speak, I don't have to say, I just like little gestures and it gets done, you know. I see success all around, and with fortitude and very lucrative opportunities and everything, you know. But anyway, I gotta jump on this flight and get on this thing. So I get at, you know, already know, yeah, that's that with all of that.